If you have two companies, and B, company A has everything automated. Company B has the option for customer to contact the company on phone or video conferencing or in person. The second company that offers the option, the human contact, will be chosen by most customers. Why? Because there should be a balance between high tech, means the use of technology, and high touch, means connection with the customer in a personalized way.
Today's guest is Professor Bruno, a TEDx speaker and best-selling author with over 3 decades in international marketing and trade, who's advised hundreds of companies. He's here to share how compassion can redefine success in business. Can you take us back to a moment when you realized compassion could be a competitive advantage?
In my book, The Art of Compassionate Business, that belongs to the health sector, there is an example of a study, research study, where the doctors were interacting with patients before going through a very serious operation.
Yeah.
In this study, doctors have 1 minute conversation with patients. After this conversation, patients felt less stressed, more at ease, more comfortable. When this patient went through the operation, they needed less anesthesia, needed less recovery time, so a shorter recovery time, only because of a 1 minute compassionate conversation with this patient. So this that being compassionate with others in business, for example, in the health sector and any other sector, can help connect to others on a mental and emotional level. Others feel how others think and try to support them whenever possible. This can apply not only to the health sector, but to any sector. The most important factor in business is the human being. When we care for the human being, we can call it customer, we can call employees, suppliers, community members. My research of hundreds of companies that I included in my latest book corroborate the fact that being compassionate with others pays off in a very positive way. You generate a positive cycle of reciprocity. You treat them well, treat them in a kind, supportive way, and people tend to respond in a similar way, a reciprocal way.
Definitely, because at the end of the day, you're working with humans and people just want to be understood and accepted. And I feel if you use these factors, not just to drive business outcomes, but because you're working with other humans, you can create a lot of more value in the business.
Yes, and for example, in the book I discuss different important principles, for example, generosity, gratitude, and the common factor in all these principles that are very important for business is that when you apply this principle, for example, when you are generous to different stakeholders, you are generous to employees, paying a good salary, paying a good bonus, writing a thank you letter, you are generous to customer, bringing about some incentive for them, offering free delivery of the goods or a free service like a repair service or refunds. And so when you are generous, you tend to bring about more generosity. They tend to behave in a generous way. These stakeholders tend to behave. The same apply with gratitude. When you are grateful, when you are appreciative for others, people contribution, for example, employees contribution or customer contribution, when they have positive reviews or came to your company, you tend to bring about also more appreciation, more gratitude. So this means that positive principle, when applied, tend to multiply, tend to bring about long-term, a robust relationship with these stakeholders, which bring about a positive cycle of reciprocity. This is important because in business, you cannot succeed on your own. You need the support of customers, you need the support of employees, community members, and by doing so, when you support them, they tend to support you in a very unconditional way, and they help you achieve the most important factor in business that are the key performance indicators such as profitability, productivity, market share, sales. Instead, when you try to focus on yourself only as a company, and you're not caring for others, other stakeholders like customers, supplier, employee, notice this very clearly and they tend to withdraw. They tend not to cooperate. Employees, if you don't care for them, if you're not appreciative to them and you are not generous and supportive to them, this employee might work by the book, only the minimum hours, then look for other companies and find a better job opportunity, they will leave the company. This is quite important.
Yes, definitely. You're completely right, because especially even with AI, some will argue that AI is the most important. However, we're still working with humans in a way. They are still our customers. Even if your company is fully automated, you will still need to face humans and treat them with compassion and not like machines.
If you have two companies, A and B, company A has everything automated. So this means
Yeah.
that you don't interact with any person. Company B has the option for customer to contact the company on the
Mhm.
phone or video conferencing or in person. If they offer the same product, the second company that offer the option, the human contact, will be chosen by most customers. Why? Because in my view and the view of many organizations, there should be a balance between high tech, means the use of technology, and high touch, means connection with the customer in a personalized way. Because at the end, these all algorithms and these bots cannot resolve all problems, cannot bring about the emotional side in the relationship, cannot support customer in a continual and interactive way in the way that will do a human being. Up to now, at present, artificial intelligence didn't replace the human, complement the human and help human beings to be more effective, more productive, more creative. The human is necessary for personalizing the relationship. If you use only technology and you make it personal, this relationship will become a kind of standardized, detached, a bit cold. Instead, when you introduce a human being, for example, a phone call, or video conferencing, or in-person communication, you are adding a personalization. We call it marketing customization. You are focusing on the specific need and preferences of this stakeholder and try to meet this expectation in the best way possible.
Definitely. So always put human at the center, even with technology, because at the end of the day, you'll always be interacting with humans, like customers.
Yes, of course. And also, you see, for example, let's talk about customers. In the
Mhm.
book, there is a full chapter about the importance of compassionate customer service. When you interact with customer and you obviously develop personalized ties, personalized bond with this customer, and you try to exceed customer expectation, what many human beings, for example, salespeople or customer service officer can do, so that you try to go beyond what they are expecting. We call this in marketing delight. This means that you're trying to surprise customer in a very positive way. Research has indicated that when you try to delight customer, which means exceed customer expectation, this customer is more prone to become loyal. This means it's more prone to come back to your company and develop loyalty bond your company. And also, this customer is more prone to recommend your company to other customers. So this means that this customer will become an unpaid ambassador for your company and will be like a magnet that effortlessly for your company will bring about more and more customers. Still, when companies act in a very negligent way, when they try only to get as much profit as possible, and in many cases they act in a very unethical way, for example, manipulating customer or developing contracts they have fine prints that, for example, will be not favorable to customer. In those cases, customer not only would leave your company because they feel deceived, they feel manipulated, but also would push other potential customer away. Why? Will leave a lot of negative reviews online, will leave very bad comments about this company, and also will become resentful, become regretful of being in contact with this company. And not only you will lose this customer, but also this customer will push away other potential customers. So it's about relationship. In business, there are two main aspects that many people, in some cases, they miss the point. The economic aspect, what I call quantitative aspect of business, what can be achieved in a very precise way. For example, market share, profit, sales, and productivity. We call this quantitative aspect because can be measured, can be counted very precisely. And the qualitative aspect of business, what cannot be measured in a precise way, but they are very important to support this long-term, robust relationship with the stakeholder. And factor, I analyze this factor in a very detailed way in my book, and these are generosity, support, care, kindness, compassion, empathy, and others, gratitude. So when you foster these factors in the workplace, within the company, and also in relation to different external stakeholders such as customers, suppliers, community, you then build a robust, very solid relationship with these stakeholders, and these stakeholders are more prone to support you, especially when your company navigates very challenging circumstances. So this is quite relevant because when you focus on both aspects, what I call the quantitative aspect of business, profit, market share, and the qualitative aspect of business, support, kindness, generosity. You have an equilibrium between both, and you tend to build robust relationship with the stakeholder, and this stakeholder will help you achieve the quantitative aspect of business, profit, market share. Instead, when you focus only on quantitative aspect of business, profit, market share, in some cases you tend to achieve this quantitative aspect by your means. For example, exploiting employees, polluting the environment, deceiving customer. Why? Because the only objective is to get more profit, to get more sale, to get more market share, and doesn't matter how get these objectives attained. So this is quite relevant because if you care for people, will care for your business activities. If you don't care for them, your business activities are more prone to go down. Why? Because at the end, they will withdraw their support. Everything is interdependent. You need them, they need you, but you need them also. So you cannot succeed on your own. No company, even the most automated companies, self-reliant. They need customer, in some cases they need supplier, they might need few employees, but they're always reliant on different stakeholders. And you cannot force them to contribute, but you can entice them to contribute to your company when you satisfy their needs first. So this means that you only go ahead with agreements that are win-win, where your needs are met as a company and their needs are met too. So you don't engage in any win-lose agreement, where your needs are met at the expense of their needs that are not.
Definitely, because whenever you see a relationship that's one of them's just win and one of them's just lose, right? And especially in business, like people remember those relationships and they don't want to interact with those people again. So you're not improving your profits.
At all, because when you engage in a relationship that is win-lose, you win at the expense of others, this is not even a relationship because we call this a transactional approach. You have one-off interaction for a transaction and that's it. Because while the other person will strengthen the relationship, they don't have their needs met. So the basic principle in life and in business is a relationship can only thrive when so both parties are fully met, not one. So this means that you as a company should make sure that when you engage or when you interact with any stakeholder, know the needs of these stakeholders and you try to do your best not only to satisfy your own needs, but also their needs. If not, this relationship will not prosper. And companies, I mentioned some example of companies in the car manufacturing sector like Toyota and Honda, the Japanese manufacturers, that they privilege long-term relationship with their suppliers. Imagine that they have a very big network of suppliers and the average length of this relationship is 10, 20 years. Why? Because they don't want to change supplier continually. They want the stability. They want trust-based bonds. They want supplier that they can help the company, the car manufacturer, and the car manufacturer can help the suppliers. There is a case that I mentioned in the book that when one of these suppliers have some financial difficulties, one of these Japanese manufacturers helped the supplier. Why? Because they were in need, and the company responded very well because they understood that the supplier were challenged, and they, for example, they made the payments earlier to ease their financial difficulties, So it's a matter of interdependence and reciprocity. Everyone wins, and the company wins. Only the company wins can win at the beginning, at first, but then this company will end up losing because any win-lose agreement will end up as a lose in the long term. Why? Because nobody wants to stay in a transaction that is win-lose. Nobody is doing charity. Why customer, if they feel ripped off or they feel manipulated, why they will keep on buying from this company? Not at all. They will look for other options. So there are always other options. Companies need to understand that nurturing this relationship takes time. It's not like you will nurture the relationship with one-off interaction. It's time they take also research, understanding the specific need that might vary from the stakeholder to stakeholder, and also understanding that the needs are very complex. Managers tend to simplify the matter of needs. Needs tend to be multidimensional. Multidimensional means that the needs are economic needs, they have also emotional side, emotional needs, mental needs, and social needs. Let's give an example. Employees have economic needs. They need to be paid a good salary. They need to be paid, for example, bonuses if they contribute well, and so on. But they also have emotional. Emotional needs means that, for example, supposing that they work hard, they wanted to meet the deadline, and so on. The emotional need is about to be appreciated. For example, receiving a thank you note or a public recognition at an event or naming them as an employee of the month and so on, like many companies do in the fast food sector. So recognizing them so that they understand that they are valuable and they feel that they count. Have also social need. This means that employees, like any other stakeholder, want to relate to others. Many companies keep employees isolated, means that they don't relate to other projects that are very solitary, and what employees need to connect to others. In some cases, it could be projects that have people from different departments or people that are complementing their skill with one another. Or in some cases, some companies organize social events once a month or once a week or once a year so that employees can gather with each other and they can connect to one another on a personal level. Employees also have general stakeholder mental needs, novel activities. The company can satisfy this need through training, through mentoring, through allowing employees to engage with activities of other departments, job rotation, allowing employees to work 1 week in one department, 1 week in the other department, or training employees and help them develop new skill or enhance their natural skills. So this means that you shouldn't focus only on economy, because supposing that you pay good salary, but you're not recognizing this employee, you're meeting the economic needs, but you're not meeting the emotional needs. But supposing that you meet the economic and emotional needs, but you're only putting this employee on tasks that are not related to other employees, other colleagues, and they might feel solitary, they might feel bored, and so on. So this means that all the needs need to be applied, and this multidimensional view on needs apply to other stakeholders, such as suppliers or, for example, customers or community members.
HR is important, and fostering community in a company can increase productivity.
Many companies are changing this now. Instead of calling HR, they call people department. I like human capital too, because in practice, when you consider employees as resources, company can take advantage of these resources and can dehumanize this employee. Say, okay, let's cut down resources. I say, oh, our sale went down. Employees are the first resource to be cut down. In some cases, company consider employees as expenses. Or say, you know what, we have the expenses are high. Let's cut down expenses. What do they mean? Firing employees. They don't feel any compassion for this employee. And in some cases, during COVID, a few years ago, I saw many companies, I'm based in the UK, London, and I saw many companies firing employees, no compensation. So this means that companies they were human oriented. They are why? Because they were focusing on employees as costs that need to be reduced or resources that we need to get rid of. The same applies with customers. Many companies tend to dehumanize customers. How? They don't consider a customer as people with their own needs, with their fears, expectations, dreams, but they consider customer as a means to get more profit, or as a means to get more sales, or as a number in the database. Well, this is customer 1011, and let's call this customer, they have 5-minute conversation. We don't care so much about what they need, but we try to sell products. This is not the human approach on customers. We need to humanize the interaction with customers, which implies they are real flesh and bone human beings with families, with fears, in some cases with health challenges, in some cases with dreams, aspirations. And we need to connect to them on a mental and emotional level and try to improve their life with any other stakeholder. The approach that I suggest in my book and is undertaken by many companies is much less selfish approach, and much more others oriented toward others. Because when you orient toward others, you create a positive cycle of reciprocity. You help them and they're more prone to help. Instead, when you focus on yourself only and you try to satisfy your needs exclusively or primarily, in many cases, by default, you tend to dismiss other people's needs. And this is a catastrophic approach. Why? Because in practice, people notice this, feel manipulated, and tend to withdraw, they tend not to cooperate.
Definitely. Especially for me as a customer as well. Like, I remember I bought a skincare product from a brand, and they gave me like a full free product, which completely complements what I bought, and it's like at full price. I will always remember that brand because they care about me, and it's like they know my problems, and they literally just gave me another solution to my problem.
Very important, but this is a good example. And why so important, this example? Because generosity when you're generous as a company with customer, like this company was in your case, you create a positive imbalance. So this means that in this case, customers feel indebted. This company, they feel
Yeah.
have to give back. And what they will do, these customers, they feel delighted. They are more prone to talk to their friends and recommend this product to their friends. Give positive review, help
Yeah.
company attract more customers. And this will improve the brand image, is how the company is seen, how this brand is seen by the different stakeholders, which will attract also more customers, but also will attract more talented people to work for this company. Why? Because when companies are very caring with different
Mhm.
stakeholders, this company tend to have a better brand image, but also a higher reputation. This means that high reputation, this means that the company is reputable, is trustworthy, and this will attract more talented employees that are very picky and high quality investors. This means that high quality investors, they don't want to waste their money. They don't want to invest in companies that are exploiting employees or polluting the environment or, for example, deceiving customers. They want to invest their money wisely. So this means that this will generate a positive cycle, and this company might be mentioned also in the news, but in a very positive way, because what in most of the news that are sensationalistic, in the newspaper, negative example of company. Or for example, this company mistreated the passenger in this airline, mistreated the passenger, and this was passenger couldn't take the flight, and all the baggage was less in the airport. You see the negative example, but when you are caring different stakeholders, this bring about a positive model that might be taken by the newspaper to be emulated by other companies. Because what you want to become is, as a company, as a profit organization, is a model to be emulated, like a compass to be followed by other companies in the right way to do things. Companies that want to improve will give you more training. So this is quite important because it's not a minor thing. And there is an interesting piece of research for the workplace that I want to mention. In the workplace, when you are support employees, when you generate a very warm workplace, when you generate a workplace where employees can be taken care of, they are listened to, they are allowed to express their idea openly. For example, some companies allow employees to use their suggestion, proposing, for example, brainstorming session or suggestion boxes and so on. When employees feel treated in a compassionate way, in this type of companies, employee satisfaction, according to research, goes up. But also customer satisfaction goes up. Why? Because employees that are satisfied tend to serve customers much more effectively. In this company with compassionate workplaces, employee turnover goes down, absenteeism goes down, stress level goes down. So all these negative indicators go down, and this impact positively on productivity, on creativity, and on the bottom line, which means profit. This means that when you invest in developing what the psychology call psychologically safe workplace, where people feel supported, they feel taken care of, they feel treated in a compassionate way, you tend to bring positive aspect, higher employee satisfaction, higher customer satisfaction. You lower the negative factors such as the stress level, turnover, and absenteeism, and you tend to bring about a much more peaceful and trust-based workplace where employees can share resources, where they can work cooperatively, care for one another, and they can rely on each other. And this bring about more productivity, more creativity, more innovation.
Definitely. Compassionate workplaces are very important. But what happens if someone comes in and they don't embody that culture of compassion? How would you react?
There are many reasons why people cannot act in a compassionate way, and it's temporarily. But one of the reasons is fear. What I
Mm.
have seen that in many workplaces, you see a lot of fear. Employees that are fearful of being fired, or fearful of making mistakes, or fearful of making new proposals, new ideas, or fearful of being outpaced by colleagues. When you're
Mm.
fearful, fear is incompatible with compassion, because I call compassion is a byproduct of what I call unconditional love that can apply to business or non-business activity. So when you are fearful, you tend to be defensive, you tend to be protective, you tend to be reactive. You cannot connect to others in an expansive way. You tend to protect, see something that is threatening, for example, losing your job or colleagues taking advantage of you, and you cannot
Mhm.
connect to them in a cooperative way. First, the management team, for example, they should identify if there are some areas of fear in the company. Try to eliminate, because if the employees, for example, continually feeling fearful of being fired if they make a mistake, for example, they're fearful of receiving feedback from their manager because they will feel that will be fired. The company should encourage, for example, in that case, a much more compassionate approach on feedback. Instead of threatening employees when they are providing with feedback that they will be leaving the company if they keep on making mistakes, they should act in an opposite way, in a much more constructive way. For example, when companies provide with feedback to employees, the employee appraisal process, they should, for example, highlight the thing that can be improved. Instead of highlighting the weak point as mistake, highlighting things as aspect to be improved and future, and also provide this employee support. This means that, for example, you say, you have very high expectation that you can improve your productivity for the future terms. So you word this as a possibility, as a very important likelihood to be improved. Can provide the specific support for you to do. For example, we can offer you some mentoring, we can offer you some coaching. So this means that you have high expectation about them, what are more likely to meet this expectation, expect positive thing about people. There is a very famous effect called Pygmalion effect that they are more prone to fulfill this expectation. It's like a self-fulfilling promise. But also you offer them support. This means that you offer them support. This means you are offering specific tools for them to be guided through this improvement process, this development process. Most companies try to act in an opposite way. They criticize employees negatively. They offer feedback that is harsh, and they don't provide employees with any tool. Employees feel threatened, they feel discouraged, they feel disheartened, and they are not supported by the company on how to improve. This is a way to sort out the fear of being fired or fear of making mistakes. But also, some employees are fearful of making new proposals. How companies can approach this? The company can set up the company suggestion boxes. Suggestion boxes that could be the company can encourage employees to make suggestion. Anonymous, the suggestion could be with their name. And in some cases, the company can offer some prizes or some award. They say, you know what, the best suggestion would have a free training course on this. Many companies do this, and employees are very empowered when they feel that they can their views, because in some cases, employees know much more than top management and top executive level about their specific area. Imagine an employee that is continually interacting with customers. They will know more about customers, how to interact in a more effective way than the CEO that is on the top. Why? Because they're continually interacting, and they can provide with valuable insight. And also employees, when they give suggestions, and these suggestions are at least considered, they don't have necessarily to be implemented. And these employees they have their emotional needs satisfied. Why? Because they feel that they can make proposals. They feel that their ideas count. They feel that their insights are of value, regardless of these insights are then implemented or not. Some companies do not allow employees to give any suggestion because the top management or the executive level, they behave in a know-it-all level, a know-it-all attitude. This means we know everything, we don't need any insight from you. It's like a superiority relationship, a symmetrical relationship. We are in the superior level. We don't need any insight. We know how to manage this effectively. We are paid for this. And employees feel emphasized. They feel discouraged. They feel they cannot contribute with any insightful ideas. And these employees, even when they're paid a good salary, in many cases, they want to leave the company because they're not emotionally. Emotionally, so before is need to be appreciated, need to be recognized, need to value these employees.
Definitely. So what advice would you give to founders hesitant to adopt a compassionate approach?
Set compassionate policies or compassionate approach to policy. For example, some companies have this. This is employees are important, contribute to this company in a productive and innovative way and in a committed way. But employees have their personal life, their family, their issue, their health. Many companies, what they do, they offer employees what they call a compassionate leave, where employees, for example, have some dependents that they are or they have to take care of.
Yeah.
And these employees will be allowed to work flexible times or take time off so that these employees can deal with this personal situation. Why is so important for this employee to be allowed to be this personal situation? Because when you do speak about the work-life balance, this means that work is important, but non-work activities, family, friends, and so on, are important too. And if this employee can, in this personal situation, this non-work situation, they're more prone to come back to work in a much more revitalized way, in a less stressed way. Instead, when employees are pressurized, you know what, we have to meet the deadline. And even you have your relative that is in, sorry, you have to come every day at the right time, and you don't have any flexible approach on it. This employee will see the stress, will not be productive. So this is one simple example. How can we set up some compassionate policies? Some companies, for example, Spotify, that I mentioned, the street company, allow employees to work wherever they want. They want to work from home, they can work from home. They want to work in subsidiaries worldwide, work wherever they want. So flexible. So this means that you offer them the option. Companies that are compassionate, they offer the option. They try to make things easier for the employee because they know that the employees are devoting a big amount of time to contribute to this company. And if these employees cannot get this quick, this balance between work activities and life activities, well, this employee get discouraged, will get stressed, will get burnout. But also are we being reasonable with the project that these employees manage? So this is another question that the company should ask. And what I see in many companies is multitasking. A lot of busyness means that the employee don't have any free time. In some cases, I observe here okay, in the supermarket sector, employees do not have time to go to the bathroom because they have to be with clients, customers in this case, not calls. We have enough time to get a break during the day.
Yeah.
Or are we managing 40 projects at the same time with no time to do anything but works? Well, this will lead to burnout. This will lead to stress. This will lead to absenteeism. Why? Because burnout will lead to potential illnesses and employee might not go to work. Instead, when you allow employee to work in a much more relaxed, focused but relaxed way, deadlines. So this means that allow a Zoom company, for example, they have employees 6, 7 Zoom meetings a day. How you can have time to deal with other activities? If you have so many meetings a day, you don't have time to deal with the project and finalize some endeavors. Why? Because you are continually from meeting to meeting. Allow an employees to more at ease, more relaxed, more focused because when employees have less stress or no stress at all, this employee discerning the skills, how they think in a critical and creative way, tend to be enhanced. Instead, when employees feel under pressure and under stress, and this can lead to burnout, this means that they think less clearly, they're less productive, they get more tired, they get less insightful, and this will affect productivity, creativity.
Definitely. So acknowledging that these employees, they're also people with their own lives outside of work.
Let's confuse the person with the role. Compassion is understanding how people think, how people feel, and try to support them. But when you only focus on the role, this means I'm the manager, you are the subordinate, you are creating an asymmetrical situation. You have power there and giving the orders, and you are the one obeying, but at the end, you are not connecting as equals. We have kind of psychology when you connect based on commonality, people develop much more trust-based bonds. What are the commonality that all people have in the workplace? That they're all human beings. They have their fear, they have their expectation, they have negative experiences, they have positive experiences, they have dreams, aspirations, and some cases they have some shortcomings, strong points. And this applies to any other stakeholder. When you connect to others in a much more humane, regardless of the role, you are more prone to develop competitive ties, competitive bonds, collaborative relationships with this stakeholder. Instead, when you, for example, what I see many companies they do is you try to micromanage employees. You're continually telling them what to do, and they cannot move a finger without your authorization. This employee feel like children. I say children because really I see like they're being treated like children. they're treating them very inferior way. They don't trust their sermon, and they don't trust their experience, their expertise, their insight. Companies should be allowing managers and people in different levels to delegate. This means that they can give general direction to the employees. They can offer their support if needed, but then allow these employees to act in the best way possible according to their expertise, their experience. Employees want to feel that other people, not the children, small children, that need to be continually in control. Because when you control people continually, people feel that they are not autonomous, they are not self-centered. And we want to bring about, we say, an environment of self-reliance in the workplace.
Definitely. Empower people, create better outcomes.
Yes, of course, because you are empowering them and you are making them for autonomy. All human beings have the need for autonomy.
Yeah.
Feel in control, but when you're continually controlled by others, this need for autonomy is not satisfied. So employees, as I mentioned, can be given very general guidance as an objective to be, but how they will achieve this and what resources they will use and how they implement their experience and expertise will be under the control of the employee, not the managers.
Looking ahead, what trends do you see in the business world regarding compassion and leadership?
On the trend that I see many companies that they have a broader approach on their mission. And what many companies only focus on a very limited view of their mission. What is the mission is why we're in the marketplace, also called business purpose of mission. What I observe, hundreds of cases that I mentioned in the book, is that many companies have a broader view of business. So this means that they care not only for profit, their mission trying to reflect their economic objective, for example, profit, market share, growth, but also their mission also reflect social impact. This means that they try to bring about better effects on the community and better life for all stakeholders, customer, employee, and so on. So this means that they want a positive social effect. And thirdly, positive environmental impact. They want a better world for our great grandchildren, for our future generation, for not only the next 10 years, the next 100 to 100 years. And this company tend to bring about environmentally friendly projects, such as, for example, using green energy, reducing carbon dioxide emission, using recyclable material, and so on. So I see company, this is a very important trend because it's not only to appear that we are approaching business from the CSR perspective, corporate social responsibility perspective, but these companies are seriously committed on only making decisions that are aligned with the three aspects: economic aspect, social aspect, and environmental aspect. If the decision doesn't meet any of these three aspects, the decision not. So this means that companies take this very seriously and they don't take this as a public relation giving. They say, you know what, well, we are honorable, we are reputable, we try to care. But then in practice, most of the decisions don't care for the community, don't care for environment. No, this company have these three aspects embedded in the day-to-day activities. Every project and every task that is performed by employees have this triple view. This we call it triple bottom line: profit, economic aspect, social, caring for people, and caring for the environment. I give an example. Many companies, for example, in the courier sector, for example,
Yeah.
companies like FedEx and others, so these are they're hiring employees that are, for example, coming from areas that are in war or civil conflict. They are hiring and they are training these employees. Also, they are training some employees that they are hiring. They don't have the basic local language. And this company, why they're doing this? Because they want to bring our way better. So, for example, many companies are hiring employees that ask, they're requesting asylum abroad, and so these employees are, or they are the employees that have been politically persecuted in their own countries and have to flee abroad. But some companies also are developing, for example, some partnership with some organization like WWF, that is an organization that care for the environment, to bring about environmentally friendly project for having a better brand image. They do this because they genuinely, they authentically want to bring about a better world. renewable sources of energy. They want to reduce carbon dioxide emission. This company, as a second effect of this activity, are bringing about a better reputation. But this company don't do this for getting a better reputation. Because they authentically want to bring about a better impact on a social and environmental level.
Definitely. It's about authenticity and making sure it's really what you're trying to do and not just for show or.
Exactly. Because the stakeholder can notice is when you're doing this manipulative way, but when you're doing very authentic way. And this is quite relevant because this will push customer away, would push high quality investor away. So reputation is quite important and companies need to care for the reputation. Reputation takes a lot of time to build and can be lost or can be damaged very easily. Very important careless activities. For example, it be the company lying about their environmental friendliness.
Definitely. If there was one thing you could change in common business practices to make it more compassionate, what would that be?
I always have long awareness. All people working for the company should enhance their awareness because most people are in an automatic mode. This means that they follow this sequence of multiple processes. We have to fill this, we have to fill that, and so on. And when you are acting in an automatic mode, you are not bringing about your best insights. And I always suggest when we are training companies that asking self-reflection question. How can I add more value to this stakeholder? If I'm an employee working in the customer service department, how can I add more value to this customer? How can I improve and strengthen the relationship with this customer? This self-reflection question that I included at the end of each chapter of my book bring about more awareness. And awareness is key because people are naturally wired to behave in a compassionate way. Lack of awareness prevents them from behaving kind and supportive way because they're too busy or too engaged with the multitasking or they don't have time, they have to meet the deadline and they don't have time to nurture a relationship with a colleague or customer. You are short in time, not focusing on them, focusing on covering the list. Customer 1, 2, 3. Not good. So all mechanical, instead of engaging in reality with this customer and asking a lot of questions that might vary from customer to customer, addressing a specific issue that vary from customer, instead of personalizing the interaction, this customer are treated in a very mechanical, impersonal way because these employees are using scripts or templates. This means that they follow a visual point that need to cover. In some cases, the very mechanical. People are being trained here in the UK, observe, and also you said in other countries, being trained to follow this script, simplify the process. But each person is unique. Each customer is unique. And you have to make sure that you are meeting the specific expectation, the unique or distinctive expectation of this customer. And when you use these scripts or templates, you're less prone to connect to them on a much more personalized way.
Definitely. I think scripts are just not. I can tell the difference when I'm talking to customer service that is a script and that isn't, and the one that isn't. I love them. I still remember them today. It made my day. Thank you.
Yeah, because the customer don't want to watch. And when you as an employee scripts, I simplify the way that you interact, but made it very unnatural. So this is very important to always humanize the interaction.
Definitely.
How you can make this more human. Another question I suggest to companies is how you make this interaction more human. It's much more humanized. And this many cases not talking only about business topics, but talking about non-business topics. We observe many cases of customer service officers that they talk about not only the product that customer want, but also what are their hobbies, what are their activities. Why? Because talking about this will give them clues about their preference, give them clues on how to this customer is different, is thinking from other customers. This is quite relevant because at the end, people want to feel the very important emotional need. People want to feel appreciated. They want to feel taken care of. They want to feel supported, not in a standardized, but in personalized.
This approach can also improve personal relationships because if you apply compassion in business and everything works very well, your personal relationships will be enhanced too.
So at the end, the common rule for personal relationship and non-personal relationship is the same goal.
Yeah.
When the needs of both parties are fully satisfied, the relationship is more prone to success. When there is only one part is satisfied and the other party doesn't have their needs satisfied, this relationship is more prone to break up. This applies to this relationship, not basic relationship. Because at the end, the concept of mutuality, more a relationship where both parties feel mutual support, and this generates a positive cycle of reciprocity. Mutuality and reciprocity are connected. And when you support each other, basically, this brings about a positive cycle. The relationship tend to become deeper, people are more competitive, more collaborative, they know each other well, they know how to support in difficult times. When you focus only on your own needs, it's a lateral approach. Only yours is important. You tend to disconnect from others because you don't care about them. And at the end, so this is less likely to succeed because in practice, people that are not taken care of, they tend to withdraw, not to cooperate. These people are less prone to help. This is a win-win when you go, you try to support them, this generates positive momentum, positive cycle. This will bring about the pace of both parties. So when you're acting in a self-centered way, non-compassionate way, focusing on yourself, nothing good could come from this one. And affect the brand image negatively, the reputation negatively, and also the relationship are more prone to it.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Professor Bruno, for coming on the podcast. Relationships that are win-win in business and life lead to success.
Also, my latest book, The Art of Compassionate Business, second edition, can be found online and offline. Thank you for the invite. I feel very honored.
Thank you.
This founder proved that kindness builds loyalty. Now discover how self-awareness and daily habits quietly shape the most impactful startup leaders. Click here to watch this next.